What's going on, guys? I'm Combat Craig, and today I have Matt Hill with me. It's been a long time. What's up, Matt?
It's been a long time, my friend. You just haven't had me on, but I mean, it's been so long. You actually got yourself a real cowboy hat finally.
I got a real cowboy hat. I certainly do. Thanks. The other one was kind of real, but yeah, this is real, real. Speaking of real, real, today we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people, a lot of veterans ask, and that is PTSD ratings combined with TBI ratings. And it happens a lot, as you know, and wanted to see what your 2 cents were, or more than 2 cents, your buck's worth.
Well, yeah, this is Craig. This is an area we see VA screw up in again and again. And as you said, it's so common. PTSD, TBI. Unfortunately, those are the signature wounds from the last, whatever we've been in, 20-some years of combat, back to the first Gulf War, actually. And, we see this again and again. And I can't tell you how many times I see a vet rated with TBI and PTSD, and their rating's not right to me. And it's important, my big thing is knowledge is power. And it's important for vets to understand when they have both of those diagnoses, they need to make sure they look at their C&P exam, because this is the crux here. You can't get a rating for two different mental health diagnoses. So if you have anxiety, depression, if you have bipolar and PTSD, they're only going to rate you on one of those. But if you have PTSD and TBI and you have mental health symptoms from both of those that are distinct, and you have a doctor saying, okay, due to the PTSD, he has suicidal ideations, for example. Due to the TBI, he can't remember to, get dressed every morning. And the doctor says those are distinct due to each one of those, then you can actually get a rating for both, which is huge. Because if you get a 70% for PTSD and a 50 or 70% for TBI, you're getting a much higher rating. A lot of times
Let me hop in here. You excuse me. A doctor saying a doctor this. So this means that, let's say you don't go to a doctor and you use their guy at the C&P exam. To me, just the VA's lazy and they're the enemy. It seems like the lazy C&P examiner would probably be like, yeah, that looks like mental health. Yeah, that TBI thing, we'll just stuff it all over here and pack it away. Is that what they do? And when you say, because I know that's what they do, so whatever kind of question that was, and then you have to get your own doctor basically, or will this be done at a C&P exam to actually separate these things and go look and see what's separate or if they are separate? That strategy, that's my boot camp. That's what I talk about. I preach it and I teach it. You need a doctor that can help you with a Nexus letter. Check out my med team. Here's an email address. Hit them up. Tell them you need a Nexus.
Craig, I don't say this often, but that was a really good point. And I appreciate you making sure I break that down. The C&P examiner is supposed to say that. And if you get your own doctor to say it, you have to have a doctor who's either a TBI specialist or a psychiatrist or psychologist. So it has to be a specialized doc. But that's a really good point you make, because you want to read the C&P exam. If they don't say it, they don't say what's separate, what's not. And even if they say, oh, I can't tell what's separate or not, they got to give a good reason as to why. And if they don't give you that, then what I would do once that decision comes out, I would appeal to a higher level review and have a conference and say, look, this is an inadequate exam. They didn't try to parse out the differences between these two, and it's not giving me the right rating. So that's a good point. You always want to make sure, if you can get your own doctor to do it, that's awesome. But, as you know, Craig, it's hard to find a damn doc who's going to go to bat for you. You
brought up a couple good points here too, along in the process. So you let's say you go to the C&P exam and you want to look at your report. So I had a bad feeling about this. I don't like it. I want to go look at it. You can't go look at it. You need to FOIA request your C&P exam, and it's going to probably happen like almost 100% of the time after you get your rating decision, which leads me to the second part. That is when you make your move. You file your claim, you build it, you hit the submit button. Now it's the VA's move. It's like a big, long, weird game of chess, right? So you can't actually do anything if you have a bad feeling, because the FOIA request thing, get your FOIA request in immediately anyway, but you have to wait to the appeals process before you can initiate a higher level review or a supplemental or lawyer up if you want to, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Craig, I got to ask you this, because I've talked to some vets who've gone on to their, my VA benefits.
My Healthy Vet, yeah.
Have you talked to, or have you ever been to pull a C&P exam from there?
So like me personally, no, but I've only kind of been in the know for 5 or 6 years. So
Okay.
my understanding is that they used to do more CNP exams through the VA at VA regional offices,
Yeah.
and those ones were there. But I never did. I think I only did one actually at the VA. That was like in '91, so they didn't even use computers really much back then. So that's they still do it in some circumstances, but basically if it's done through QTC, VES, and
Oh,
LHI
sure.
or Optum, it does. It's not in the system, so you can't get it.
That makes sense because it's not through the VHA, and so it's not even going to go in their records. It's going to go in the Veterans Benefit Administration records.
And
Yeah.
it's funny
I mean,
because it's not funny. It's just interesting. You don't have access to My Healthy Vet because you don't access veterans records through the way that we access our records. You access it through the VBMS system, a whole different portal.
yeah. So I mean, you can FOIA it, which is great. If you have a representative, an attorney, they can get it pretty much right away. Or you
Right.
can go to your VSO, and they should be able to
Oh,
pull it
right, right.
down.
You can get them. You'll right. Yeah, you'll get it faster. Right.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you make a good point because a lot of times they're going to get the report back, make the decision. That's the first time you saw it. And so
Right.
you want to pull that report. And if you see they weren't clear in differentiating the symptoms for each diagnosis, then yeah, you need to appeal that higher level review and get in and say, hey, look, this needs to be done better. Or as you said, you can file a supplemental claim if you have more evidence in there, like your doctor's going to finally get back to you or whatever, and you can appeal it that way. But if you don't have any new evidence, that's when you want to go higher level review for that.
This is one that you actually look at personally. So I'm just kind of thinking about VA. I'm thinking DBQs. I mean, if I go in there for TBI and PTSD, I mean, it's check boxes. Like there
Yeah.
should be, it's probably going to be quite obvious they didn't try to pull it apart because it's so dumbed down in DBQ form. Like you really have to, it would be glaringly obvious to see that they didn't do it. Right. I mean, this symptoms
Yeah,
over here, if they don't start deep diving into mental health and it's just check, 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 check 70%,
exactly.
they want you to go away. That's the VA's MO, right? They definitely don't want to give you two separate 70% ratings,
Right.
and they're not
Well,
breaking them down.
yeah, and a good point there is if you have a TBI with PTSD, you should be getting two exams, one for the TBI, one for the mental health. The TBI will comment on the mental health because obviously it's part of the TBI as well, but the
Mm,
PTSD should be just for the PTSD. And so, Craig, I think a good pro tip there is if you get both of those done and nobody comments on saying, oh, this is just PTSD, this is TBI, what I would do is look at those two exams and say, what symptoms are listed in TBI that are not in PTSD and vice versa. And then at the higher level review, I'd be like, hey, they didn't comment on this, but here, you got all the evidence that shows my TBI causes this level, PTSD independently causes this. Give me a rating for both. And
and
that,
comment on
that,
this means they just rolled with the other guy, right? Like, um,
yeah,
they go to the shrink first, and the shrink says, whatever, hypervigilance, this, that, and the other thing. And then the TBI goes, yeah, what he said. That's definitely, he didn't even put any effort into actually trying to pull them apart. He's just agreeing and being lazy.
yeah. If they're lazy like that, then I'm asking for an inadequate exam. But if they do it with blinders on, right? Like the TBI guy says, oh, this is only TBI is X, Y, and Z. And then the
Right.
PTSD guy says, oh, I'm only doing this X, Y, and Z. Well, you look and see if one of those doesn't line up, meaning like if this symptom over here in TBI is not apparent in the PTSD, then you should get a rating for that and the PTSD. And
Right.
that's where
That makes
vets get
sense.
shortchanged all the time.
That strategy, that's my boot camp. That's what I talk about. I preach it and I teach it. You need a doctor that can help you with a Nexus letter. Check out my med team. Here's an email address. Hit them up. Tell them you need a Nexus. When you're, how would you tee this up before you go to your exam, before you file your claim? If you're really looking to make sure there's no confusion, no blinders, they could still go on. Would you try to get an opinion from both of those before you go in? I know that's spending money up front. You don't really like doing that.
No,
With that in mind as well, what would you recommend?
well, here's my thought on that. If you have access to mental health providers who are willing to go to bat for you, I mean, first of all, kudos. That's awesome. You gotta really like those guys because they're going above and beyond. My thought always is I want to have the last word, if that makes sense. I know
Yep.
they're going to get an exam no matter what. I could send in the most beautiful DBQ and they'll look at it and be like, oh, well, that's nice. Let's see what our doctor says. So what
Right.
I want to do is have their doctor have their say and then my doctor review that. Not only give my doctor's opinion, but also say, oh, and this doctor didn't look at X, Y, and Z, or he apparently didn't talk to the vet because the vet's told me all this. So if you have those folks that go to bat for you, and you know the VA is already going to send you to exam no matter what, I have them have the final say. And that might be going back to what you said. You get the exam and then boom, you get a rating decision that's not liking. Well, you can't go higher level review with new evidence. You got to go supplemental claim and put that stuff in there then. And then I would say, if you put in that in supplemental evidence and they have you go to another exam, I would consider not going to that exam. I'd just be like, you know what? You have all the evidence you need. You got your guys, you got my guys. You're not going to try to do this. Oh, let's do a third one to see who's better. No, I would just say make a decision, because I think that's just developing to deny.
Yeah, that is right. Developing to deny, exactly. And there's also the C&P examiner didn't sign it. Like, there's so many reasons they can do it, but I think it fits more neatly in developing to deny, because some of that's going on too. More than less, more than often than not. That's
right.
a word, legal phrase. All right, cool. Anything else to add about the PTSD / mental health ratings? Other than
just
TBI specialist, but since the mental health component is what we're really trying to separate here, as a board certified psychologist or psychiatrist can get it done. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a TBI specialist, but if you got one, use them.
Right. I agree. And that's the thing. If you have TBI and PTSD, you should be looking to see you get rated for both of those. And if you don't, you need to dig into those C&P exams.
Yep. We're both going to get to the same place, and we both want you to get, the compensation you deserve. I'm kind of more of the opinion that this could be done up front, and it can be. Yeah. But I understand, and I like your strategy. You're sitting back here actually able to fight this. So I want to see all your cards, because they don't have that many, deny and something weak. So if I'm going to sit back here in your shoes, now I can go attack them from here. So the strategies are different. The goal is to get you paid. The exactly. System is definitely rigged and set up to trip us up at the very least, but fail is kind of more like it. So different ways to go about it. Just get paid is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's good you finally had me on again. I thought I was on your list or something, so I'm glad I...
All right, cool, Matt. Thanks for joining me today, and let's do more of these.
We should, man. Talk to you soon.
Right. Bye. That strategy, that's my boot camp. That's what I talk about. I preach it and I teach it. You need a doctor that can help you with a Nexus letter. Check out my med team. Here's an email address. Hit them up. Tell them you need a Nexus.